the train rolling, we do a little trolling, dodge that bullet and take back what was stolen. The God Emperor of the universe rises again. The time traveler, adventurer is rising, rising. The great American spirit is rising again. 4-7, forever, forever, until the very end. Fight to the very end. Fight, 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 fight.
Congressman, I just there's too much here, and we're so confused, and we are so bothered by these strange situations that presented themselves yesterday. Like, maybe you can just start off the top. How'd this individual get a gun in the first place?
Yeah, don't know. Well, right. Let's just start with, Kamala Harris lied to the country during the debate, said nobody's in combat on her watch. And I'm going to tell President Trump he's starting to see more combat than I did as a Green Beret. I mean, this is just absurd. Here's one distinction from framework that I think as you follow this, Benny, and that's really starting to piss me off. The Secret Service is being pretty forthcoming in their failures and what went wrong. And I'm happy to get into what we've been briefed thus far. The FBI, on the other hand, responsible for Crooks's motives, responsible for getting into those encrypted accounts, all of the backstory. How was he radicalized? How did he make those IEDs? How did they so quickly come to the conclusion that he acted alone, yet we know nothing about him? Kind of all in the same breath. They've gone down the dark information hole of it's all under investigation. We'll let you know when we get around to it. Totally unacceptable. And I'm in discussions about getting them all subpoenaed because they should be. That's just not acceptable. This wasn't like Bill Clinton or Jimmy Carter, a one-time incident that we could take our time unpacking and cross the T's and dot the I's.
Yeah.
The Secret Service responsible for its failures. We were briefed last week, and I about fell out of my chair a half a dozen times. The very basics, like giving local law enforcement instruction for how to secure the AGR building. That didn't happen. The site lead basically said, "You guys got it, right? Good to go." Local law enforcement, especially in these rural areas, they may not have anybody they could spare. I mean, they didn't cross-check. Are you putting one officer on there? Are you putting them on top of the roof? Are you putting them inside the building? What kind of assets are you putting in place? The Secret Service site lead in advance didn't even check Butler County, PA's plan. Butler brings in another county, Beaver County, and they never attended any of the meetings. They all were on a common radio station or a common radio frequency. Nobody was using it. Everybody was texting and calling. So when you have shooter on the roof, get them off the stage, act now, it across the net never happened. The unified command post was in a different place than the detail lead for the president himself, his body guy. So when the Secret Service did get the call 1 minute before shots were fired, he should have been able to turn right there, look at the president, don't go out, or get him off the stage. But they were in different locations. There were so many failures across the board that it's hard to wrap your mind around and what was happening there. And then the final thing, I still can't get a straight answer on: why was the building out of the security perimeter in the first place? And why did you have a fence line 50 yards from the stage that anybody could have approached with any weapon system before they even touched a magnetometer? And my message to the acting director was accountability isn't what just happened. with your assistant director over the protective detail that you get to retire with a 30-year pension and sail off into the sunset and go fishing. We need to see actual punitive accountability, people fired, people penalized, because we have people dead. We have Americans dead because of these failures. That's one. And then two, and I know you've been covering this, the rhetoric from the left has got to stop. This demonization. I mean, what did they take, a 3-day break after Butler, PA, and they've gone right back to it. President Trump called out Harris for it during the debate, said, you know, the stuff you're saying about me about got my head blown off. And then here we are again. And final thing, Benny, I'm the only one on the task force that's also on the Intel committee. I can't get into it here yet. But the plots from Iran are very real. They are ongoing. And we have heard zilch, squat, nothing from this administration, not even a strongly worded letter in terms of consequences for an adversary that is trying to kill a former president and current candidate. If it were Russia with ongoing plots trying to kill Harris or Biden, the media would be screaming their heads off, demanding condemnation from every Republican that came on television. But it's just kind of washed away. And I'm glad you showed the book from Ruth, his online self-published book that was apologizing to Iran and calling on them to assassinate him. And with ongoing plots with Iranian operatives trying to recruit people, is there a connection there? And that's what I'm going to drill down from my perspective hard on.
I mean, past this prologue, right? So here's Iran producing a video where they shoot President Trump. They kill President Trump on his golf course from the bushes. This is available. It's currently available. This is put up by the Ayatollah Khomeini. This guy had really mysterious, very strange international ties. For some reason, he was allowed to vote in the November primaries in North Carolina. He lives in Hawaii. He has a Biden-Harris sticker on his truck. He's traveled to D.C. and lobbied Congress, traveled to Ukraine and tried to recruit soldiers for the war there. And he's unemployed. This guy has a criminal record, long as my arm, 100 counts, including a weapon of mass destruction count. Yet he's free to walk the streets and buy weapons and show up at Trump's golf course. What the hell is going on, Congressman?
Yeah. And by the way, the plot that was thwarted was a Pakistani national who were recruiting spotters with ties to Iran, recruiting spotters, put down payments, put cash down for hitmen, and were recruiting protesters to stage a distraction. So these plots are very real. It wouldn't even surprise me if the photos that you see in the Iranian video were taken from that hole. And so I just don't think it would be that hard for him to see the motorcade movement. And by the time you get to the clubhouse and play 4 holes, for him to get in position. But if there's an inside issue, I mean, that is just explosive in so many ways. So, but just take those data points, and then I definitely praise Governor DeSantis for stepping in and putting his resources in.
Yes.
I also call on New York and New Jersey, where President Trump also has residences, also has courses. If the Secret Service is saying they're resource starved to get up to a presidential level for Biden, Harris, and Trump, and you have the UN with 150 world leaders coming in, you've got world leaders coming in to Delaware this weekend. If there's a resource problem, then the governors need to step in and help. This is all hands on deck for the sake of our republic. And again, I call on Democrats, if you really care so much about our democracy, then stop demonizing them, because when you tell your followers that the ends justify the means, he has to be stopped no matter what it takes. Clearly, some deranged individuals are listening, and they're taking the left at their word, and they're willing to do anything necessary. And then we already talked about the foreign components here. There is a lot to unpack.
Just very quickly here, I know you're from Florida. I want to give sort of a closing argument for what the state of Florida should be doing here in this investigation. You've obviously just detailed for us how tough it is to work with the FBI, how you know nothing, how we may find out in 2026 something about Thomas Crooks. No one will care. What should the state of Florida be doing? I am advocating for daily press conferences, for releasing of information to the public, for full capture of the man's electronic devices, who he was working with, who he was communicating with, who was being funded. I think the public deserves to know this and know this now.
200% information that we get. And look, I went right to the microphones immediately after the acting director of the Secret Service briefed us on Thursday and said, here's the failures that he's just shared with us. Of course, there are some elements that are classified, and rightly so, but I also will tell you, Benny, I will question if I think things are getting overclassified. So we should be releasing to the public information that we get as we get it. The service is doing better. I praise the Florida sheriff of Palm Beach yesterday for having a press conference immediately, having the Secret Service there, having the FBI there. The acting director was on a plane last night to go walk the ground. I encouraged him to have a press conference today. Look, we're in the middle of a contentious presidential campaign for the future of this country, and we have our enemies trying to kill one of the candidates. The public needs to know everything we know as we know it, like you said. And the FBI has kind of taken this, well, we'll get to it when we cross all our T's and dot our I's when we get to it. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, totally unacceptable. And this man is alive and he can be interrogated. We can find out. You can ask questions of him. And we really hope that Ron DeSantis captures everything. He's done a great job here in the state of Florida, and obviously is a law and order governor. Yeah. Thank you.
Agree.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Please come back anytime and brief us. We deeply, deeply appreciate it. Everybody follow the great Representative Mike Waltz. Waltz.
With a T. With
okay,
a T.
Waltz. That's right. I'll never ever say it incorrectly again.
T for Trump.
That's right. That's right. Godspeed. Godspeed, sir.
All right. Thank you.